Look at this. The final wall panel is going up as we speak.
Okay.
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one, the only, Noah Rubin.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And the wall panels are fully attached.
Thank you. Thank you.
Huge.
Yes, no need to, you can keep the applause coming. There's no need to stop. Oh my.
See, the problem that I've realized, Noah, is we can't use any of this. This soundboard is not going to do us anything in the actual podcast. That's the only problem. Because, of course, it's not actually on our recordings. So I still need to get myself I think it's a Rode Streamcaster. That sounds right. I gotta get one of those.
You know, I've been meaning for a long time. This Zoom recorder thing has like 4 buttons for sound effects, and I was supposed to look at that a long time ago. But I feel like that might, because I'm recording through the Zoom thing, so I feel like that would work with the recording too. So I got to look into that.
That is a good idea. Yeah, I mean that would definitely go into the file. So you gotta figure that one out. I'm gonna get us a Rodecaster. I have to figure out. I want to find one that's just the actual gosh dang thing, because all of these are like bundles. So there's like the Rodecaster Pro 2, which I think is what I would get, although it's dramatic overkill for what we actually need. But some of them are like a bundle where it comes with a micro SD card, and some headphones, which are I guess they look okay. Here's one that comes with a micro SD card and a boom arm. Like, these are very random.
Yeah. Clearing out inventory.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. But yeah, I will get us a nice little podcast recorder with some soundboard functionality. I guess some levels and adjustments would be nice, but I don't know. I got a cloud lifter and it's doing the trick just fine. So, well, you know, I'm not pressed, but having sound effects would add a lot, I think.
I think it would be a fun time.
Yeah. Someone said genius bar vibe. That's Sam has been peer pressuring me into getting this kind of stuff for as long as we've been doing this. So I guess, I don't know, maybe he has a backdoor deal with Rode to get stuff sold to me. Let me make my light.
Making commission off of you.
Yeah. Damn, I'm going like full haunted house vibe here, or I can go full morgue here with the light.
Oh man.
What do you think?
Oh. Yeah, it's very dark.
I like to keep it right over here. That looks good. It makes me not look pale and sickly, so I like it.
Yeah, that's good. Someone said we should have a sound effect whenever a panel falls off of the wall. I feel like that could be kind of fun.
That's a great idea. Oh man, that's such a good idea. Oh look, someone talked about John Prosser, and look who shows up on cue.
Oh boy.
In chat, we've got Front Page Tech in the mix. Is that the real Front Page Tech? I can't see on StreamYard. I think it probably is.
Yeah, I would think
it is. That's funny. Look at this. What a guy. He's here in the chat. He's here to create some chaos. But oh wait, I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
I have sneezed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good. Very good. Oh, man. This was a good week, Noah. Don't you think?
It was. Most weeks are not as exciting as this past week in terms of Apple news. So yeah, I would say so.
That is true. I mean, I think we figured it out. It's something like 4 weeks out of the year are Apple event weeks. So that means that this is only one of about 4 Sundays out of the year where we do a Dark Mode podcast episode about the preceding Apple event.
That is true. I will say next episode will be exciting because we'll have the iPhones by then. And the one after, we'll have the Apple Watch and the AirPods. I did end up ordering the AirPods, and we can talk about
you
all
got
of
them.
I did end up ordering them, yes.
Okay. And then the one after that is going to be our in-person episode. Ooh. Who's excited for that? That's going to be a ton of fun.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. A lot of people here talking about Dynamic Island coming to other things. This I think is worthy of discussion. Oh gosh, looks like John wants to come on the show next week. What do we think? Should John come on next week? I'm always down for a little bit of chaos. We're all gonna have the new phones by then.
Yeah, we will.
That could be interesting. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and now he's mad. Is mad because of the Price is Right sound. You can't claim ownership of that, John. Is your name actually John the Price is Right Prosser? I don't think so. So come back when you have a copyright, huh? How about that?
Be careful or he'll send the YouTube copyright machine after you and you'll get another strike.
Oh God. Dude, literally the first thing that I see when I open my YouTube dashboard is channel violations, active community guidelines, strikes. And it says, warning, your content was removed due to a violation of our community guidelines. And by the way, the date for that, June 22nd, 2020. I bet that most of the people watching this podcast right now were not even subscribed when that happened, but it's at the top of my page.
Yep.
Also, wait a minute. I honestly think that I could probably dispute this claim because I didn't even notice this before, but I got copyright striked under what policy? And actually, I should clarify. I was community guidelines stricken.
Am I guessing what the policy was?
Like, what do you think? You were there. What do you think we got hit for?
For showing the Apple event on your own stream?
Wrong.
No. Oh, was it for the song that was playing on the Apple event?
No, it wasn't copyright at all.
What was it?
And by the way, it's a little embarrassing that I'm just noticing this 2 years later. Like, we're talking about this was during the WWDC where they announced Apple Silicon. Like, the whole transition has taken place in between this time. And I haven't even noticed this. We got copyright stricken for spam, deceptive practices, and scams. Which, no. It says here, YouTube doesn't allow spam, scams, or other deceptive practices to take advantage of the YouTube community. We also don't allow content where the main purpose is to trick others into leaving YouTube for another site. That's None of that applies at all. We were certainly, I don't think, taking advantage of the YouTube community, nor are we tricking them into leaving YouTube. If anything, we were encouraging them to stay for 3 hours.
Yeah, that the only thing I could think of is it's some backhanded way of saying that, like, if we were showing the Apple event, that it would confuse people into thinking that this was the actual event and not us reacting to it. That's the only thing I could
Even though
possibly
we
think
were
of. But
on
it's
screen and reacting to it.
yeah, I know. It's not. That still doesn't make sense to me. That's really weird.
Yeah, I really don't know. Uh, what a wacky bunch of what a wacky thing.
Yeah.
Time to get into the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. But first, we have a super chat from Kayvon, who says that he got the Pro Max, he got the Ultra, he got the AirPods, basically twinning with you, Noah.
Oh yeah, I did not get the Max, but otherwise, yes, I got the regular Pro. Otherwise, yes.
Oh, I didn't
Same.
see that. He did get the Pro Max. So he's twinning with me, except I didn't get the AirPods.
Yes.
But
Not too bad. And you still had $2 left to send the super chat.
exactly. That's it, though. That's the end. That's the rest of his bank account. I feel bad.
I think so, probably.
All right. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage technology advice from two technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves, it's what our moms call us when the dynamic island is acting up. I'm your host, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way. In this case, a new product or two along the way.
Maybe even 3.
Maybe exactly 3 categories. Whoa. At least
3. Yeah, that works. Yeah, so obviously we got to start by talking about the event. And Noah, let's go over the haul. What did we all get? Would you like to start us off?
Yes. So we should go in event order. What did they start with in the event? It was the Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Or
Series
was it
8?
Yes.
Series 8 was the first.
Series 8 was the first, and neither of us got the Series 8.
Yeah.
And then
snooze, yawn, hello, wake me up when it's actually interesting. What the heck was the Series 8 all about? That was like, seriously? That's it?
Yeah, it was a pretty minor update. And I think, we said this on the stream, and we'll say it again here. I think that the base models of everything at this event were pretty underwhelming. So that goes for the Apple Watch and the iPhone as well. And the Pro models, or the more expensive ones, were the really interesting ones. So we'll get into that as well. But I agree with you.
I hope this doesn't become a trend, but I could see it becoming a trend. Basically, not a lot of new stuff on the more basic end. And realistically, the Series 8 shouldn't be the basic end, because that's where the Apple Watch SE is for. So we're kind of entering this weird, not necessarily price creep, but tier creep category here, where everything is kind of getting tiered up over and over again. We saw this with the MacBook Air, right? They introduced a new MacBook Air, but it was a new higher tier of MacBook Air. So it didn't replace the old one, which is 2 years old, and they're still selling it for the same price. And now we have this going on kind of with the Apple Watch. The Series 8 was a snooze fest. Let's be honest, right? I put this on Twitter, I think, quite succinctly. Unless you are planning on getting into a car crash in the next year, save yourself quite a lot of money and get a Series 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the Series 8 and the SE as well were pretty basic. pretty minimal upgrades from the last year. And I think it's that problem. We're seeing this with a lot of the base models, especially. You mentioned the MacBook Air. We've seen it with the Apple Watch and with the iPhone as well. The problem is that these products have been out for a long time and they're just so good. You have one that's a couple generations old and it's still totally fine. Go back to the original Apple Watch. That thing was not very good. And it took a couple iterations. It was really bad. I mean, it was very basic. It was a very, very much a first gen product. There were some products that Apple knocks out of the park first time. AirPods was one of them, in my opinion. Apple Watch was not one of them, in my opinion. But it takes a couple of generations. And I feel like the Series 4, when it got that redesign with that bigger screen, that was like the first great Apple Watch. And the Series 5 added the always on display, which was fantastic. So the Series 5 is such a good one. And, we both have Series 5s. And, looking at the Series 8, there are some nice improvements, blood oxygen sensor, bigger screen, whatever. But it's not a matter of our watches being too out of date. It's a matter of the new watches just having more features that we might want. And so I think we're seeing that a lot with base model products in all of the lines where they're just so good that it's not really an outdated. The issue isn't really that your product's outdated. It's that, you want to upgrade to get new features.
And a lot of people might look at that and say, well, isn't that a good thing, right? Because the products are objectively really, really good. But I think there are actually a number of downsides to that. And we've started to see that especially on the iPad, the Apple Watch now, and the iPhone. So the Apple Watch this year, I think, is a really good example of this because, as you mentioned, Noah, it's one of the more recent product categories. It's only 7 years old. You look at the iPad is 12, the Mac is like 100,000 years old, the iPhone is 15, but the Apple Watch has only existed at all, period, for 7 years. So it really ramped up, right? If you look at a Series 0 versus a Series 1 versus a Series 2, 3, 4, 5, wow, things changed really fast and got really, really good. The OS got better. The hardware got better, got faster. It was less reliant on a phone. It became more independent. The always-on display was amazing. The Series 4 redesign was really good. But since then, Series 6, Series 7, bigger screen, but Series 8, even the most ever, I would say. And Apple is now going to be facing some problems. And one of them is when your product is so good and you aren't willing to try hard enough to make it better, you end up having to leave things on the table that could have made everything way better. I was really surprised when they updated the Apple Watch SE and they didn't give it the always on display. That seemed like a logical thing to me because it's the same. Right now it has the display from the Series 4. So all they would have had to do is put the display from the 5 and 6 on it, but they didn't do that. And I think the only reason that they did not do that was obviously not for technical reasons. It wasn't for price because they lowered the price. The only reason they did that was because no one would buy a very boring Series 8 if they could get the always on display for $279.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, you get to that point where when the pro models, the pro models have to be different, or I say pro models, the different tiers have to have differences.
Oh,
that was
our first
weird
panel
noise.
has bit the dust.
Yes. So, the different tiers have to have different, features in them. And so, like you said, when the higher tiers get features less and less frequently, or they get, smaller and smaller, more incremental upgrades, then that affects everything down the line. And so even the people who say, oh, I don't care about the more expensive ones, I always just buy the least expensive one, it does affect you too. It'll take longer for you to get those features. You see a feature, say, oh, that's really cool, I'll get it in a couple years when it comes down. Well, now it's, an extra year, maybe an extra 2 years before you get it.
Exactly. And we're not even talking about the larger display. We're just talking about the always on display. That's from 2019, folks. And I think this is a great point here that Cool Guy 5555551 brings up, and that is the Series 5 with always on display is when they started seeing everyone wearing Apple Watches. I think that's actually quite accurate. I think the Apple Watch really became as widespread as it is now because of Series 5. And I have a Series 5. Noah has a Series 5. Neither of us have felt compelled to actually upgrade in the past 3 years. And we're tech people. I do this for a living. I buy every other Apple product, but I have never felt the slightest need to upgrade my Apple Watch or, for that matter, my iPad. And now I think the same would be true of the regular iPhone 14. So we can go ahead and get into. Oh, wait, we can't get into that yet. We got to talk about the Apple Watch Ultra. I forgot about that.
Of course.
Now we talked about the rumors, the leaked schematics for the Apple Watch Ultra right before the event. And Noah, you and I were pretty skeptical.
Yes, we were.
But as it turned out, Apple Watch Ultra was quite something. I've ordered one. I know you have, Noah. What was it that sold us?
I don't know. It is exciting. It was exciting to see a really interesting new Apple Watch. And obviously, that's the way that Apple's going to do it. If you see, because we see the Series 8 is a very incremental over the Series 7. And the past few Apple Watches have been very incremental, like we said. But, if you really want to have something new, you gotta really, go in a different direction. And I guess they could have gone two directions. They could have gone, super luxury like or more, rugged sports adventure, whatever. The first route they did try with the Apple Watch Edition, and they still do it kind of with the Hermes and, some of the, other case materials that they have. So they have kind of done that a bit. They could have done, I don't know. I don't think that they would have done something super fancy because they kind of did that with the Edition. They could have done something a little bit less fancy, but that's kind of Hermes. But they went with the very rugged sports kind of thing. It's a huge display, a huge battery. It's very distinctive with the orange color. And I got, oh my god, this is a mess.
God. We're down another 2.
The orange color with the orange action button, and I got it with the orange band as well because I really think that orange color is cool. They just packed so much into this watch, and at a really interesting price too. So I was just very intrigued by this overall.
Yeah, the price I think is probably the most surprising thing. I have to say, actually, this event, at least in the US, was really interesting because everything was rumored to be astronomically expensive. People were like, it's going to be $1,099 for the 14 Pro, $1,200 for the Pro Max. The Apple Watch is going to be $1,000. None of the prices went up in the US. The only difference in price that we saw was actually the Apple Watch SE, and that's because it went down. They dropped it $30. So overall, pretty good. Now, if you're in the EU or the UK, not the same story. Prices went up quite a bit. I actually saw, Noah, in Turkey, if you would like to purchase the 1 terabyte iPhone 14 Pro Max, here that's $1,599. In Turkey, convert the currency into wall panels, and you will be paying $3,150.
Oh my god.
The base iPhone 14 Pro 128 gigabyte is $2,100.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even in and actually, let me check this out here. Apple.co.uk. We have a ton of people from the UK that watch here. Oh dearie me, how can I change? I'd like to become a Brit. Apple.co.uk. There we are. Splendid. Now, let me take a look at here. Oh my goodness gracious. Pounds to United States dollars. 1,099 pounds. Whoa! Oh my gosh, that's $1,276 to get the 120 gig, the 128 gig 14 Pro. That is not insignificant.
Yeah,
Wow.
wow. Yeah. Whew.
I did also notice something else, which is that for the US store, Apple has gone back to having iPhone 14 Pro up top. In the UK, they still have their tribute to Queen Elizabeth on the front page. I guess they figured for the US, let's go back. Well, let's sell some product. For the UK, though, pip pip and whatnot.
Yes, I think. I guess if they're raising prices elsewhere, they don't need to show them on the homepage.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying inflation. And do also note, by the way, that in the EU and the UK, those prices include tax, VAT in the UK. So it's not as dramatic, considering that if you buy an iPhone 14 Pro Max, I think there's like $86 in tax. So it's really like $1,275 versus $1,085. So still noticeably more. But I think one of the reasons that this is happening, obviously inflation, but also the pound and especially the euro are really weak compared to the dollar right now. And obviously Apple is a US country. Most of these tech conglomerates, why did I say conglomerates, corporations, they do US currency stuff. So if the euro gets cheaper, then that's like, whoops, we're accidentally giving a 20% off sale in Apple's eyes. So they go ahead and raise those prices, I think like $150 or almost $200, which puts it at about the same when you look at, like, if you look at the iPhone last year and convert those euros to dollars, and you look at it this year and convert euros to dollars, you would find it to be very, very similar, but the euro tanked 20%. So they just tacked that onto the price.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
But what wasn't rough, back on track here, look at this, was the Apple Watch Ultra price tag. I was surprised.
Yeah, it was. I was surprised because they really did do a lot. They really did the battery. They like 36-hour battery up to up to 60 hours with the whatever power saving feature they're gonna have. The big screen, very nice case material, like everything, new bands, whatever, all of that, and $800 price. I was not expecting that. That's pretty good.
I mean, $800 obviously is a lot for a smartwatch. I had never even considered doing that before. But Apple finally figured it out. They figured out how to make a high-end Apple Watch without it being stupid. Because, look, we talked about this before, but Apple, ever since the dawn of time, aka 2015, has offered an edition. So at first it was solid gold. That did not go well. I think it's safe to say people were not willing to spend $18,000 on one of those. So then they said, all right, fine. How about ceramic? We'll try that. And then they said, okay, we'll do titanium. There was a while actually where they did aluminum, stainless steel, ceramic, and titanium all at once, I believe. I think the Series 6. I might be wrong on that. Maybe the 5. But no.
They're so loud today.
They are. They're very energetic. And so Apple had been trying to do that, but the problem was you literally didn't get anything. You got like a tiny little bit of gold that was not worth 18 grand. You got a tiny little bit of titanium that was not worth $850, not grand. And even now, the stainless steel, which not that many people buy for the obvious reason of like, why would you spend an extra? I think it's like $200 or $300 just to get a little bit of metal. And it also doesn't even age well because it's polished and it gets scratched and dirty. So it looks worse and it's more expensive and you get zero additional features. So it's not surprising that nobody wanted that. And so Apple said, all right, okay, fair enough. You got us here. So they took the Series 7 titanium, which started at $849. And what they did was they started by cutting the price by $50. Then they added extra precision GPS. They added a larger battery with twice the battery life, a larger display with a sapphire glass, which is extremely shatter resistant. They kept the titanium enclosure. They designed new bands for it. They gave it a dive computer, an additional button, the activity button. They made it super duper waterproof, not just like mostly waterproof. Now we're at super duper waterproof. And I'm like, holy crap. That's a lot. Like that's a lot of stuff to add at a lower price point.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think Apple has tried. They've tried different things with the higher end Apple Watches. I think they've come to realize, they have the Hermes partnership, and that at least gets you something. You can argue whether or not it's worth it, but at least you're getting, a quality or a designer brand, like whatever. I guess is designer, right? So you're getting a designer band, is what I meant to say, and maybe a custom watch face. So you're getting something out of it. And then there's this one, the rugged one with the crazy battery life and, pretty distinctive look, I would say. And then, there's the Nike one and the typical one, and they still have the stainless steel. So you can opt for that if you want a shinier watch. So that's fine. But they've definitely they've definitely, I think they have a very much clearer lineup in terms of, the different varieties of Apple Watch and why you would want to buy them. So I think it's a lot clearer, a lot more streamlined now than it was.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? Honestly, now that you mention it with the Hermes one, I feel like okay, I like what Apple did here with the Ultra. And I think they're going to find that a lot of people, not even in their target audience, such as you and me, are compelled by it. I mean, quite honestly, having a giant display, a different look, and twice the battery life, I was already sold. Like that, I could realistically probably wear it for like 2, maybe even pushing it to 3 days before I charge. That's pretty awesome. And so I was already like, you know what? Okay, for 800, I think that's a pretty fair price. So clearly Apple went for the rugged utilitarian approach here. But I do wonder if there's not room for them to try luxury again, but like actually, wholeheartedly do it. Because I feel like the additions have all been kind of half-assed, right? All they were was case materials. I feel like if they made an Apple Watch edition at a $600, $700, $800, $900 price point, and even just gave it a little bit of something else, a fancy screen, a high refresh rate, a extra battery life, something that just made it look more premium, feel more premium, a little bit of extra functionality. I think they would absolutely find that people would spend money on that. I would. I mean, the Ultra is great, but if there was something a little smaller, designed to just be like really, really classy, luxurious, I could see myself getting that.
Yeah, I think, and I want to talk about the size because that's one thing that I'm a little nervous about with the Ultra. But to your point that you made, I think it could be interesting. Imagine this, an Apple Watch edition that looks,
Okay.
we'll say, it looks fairly similar to the Series 8. Obviously, you know, it has some kind of nice case material, and it has the action button, and the action
Hmm.
button is something cool. You know, like it's orange on the Ultra, and it's that orange that's like some like international like emergency color or something. There's like it's
Yeah,
this very specific orange, but there's some cool like high end. I don't know if it's like, you know, a gold button or a crystal. I don't know anything about fashion, period, but like just some kind of a
I know
like a
what you
little
mean.
thing there. And then it has a little bit of extra functionality, and it has a distinctive you know, little thing there, and maybe that's something that they could do. I don't know.
I would even like, what if they made a round Apple Watch and they went with like a luxurious coating, a casing,
Mm.
and they did like a round Apple Watch. I don't know what, maybe not Pro. It wouldn't really be Pro, but like I guess they could just call it an edition. They could bring that back, Apple Watch edition, but it's a little round and it's slim and it's like tapered. I think that would honestly, I think that could sell pretty well. A curved display. What about that?
Yeah, I think I would be interesting, you know, if they went for a full round display, that would definitely have some ramifications for Watch OS and,
Mhm.
you know, other devices, other Apple Watches. Would this be the only round screen Apple Watch?
True.
But I definitely think that if they have, you know, one of the things that I really like about the Ultra is that it has a different design. It has, you know, a
Mhm.
flat display and you know, it's curved a little bit differently and whatever. So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's more or less fashionable. Obviously they did it on the Ultra because it's more practical, but I don't know if
Mm.
fashion people would say that that's better or worse. But maybe they could change the shape of the device a little bit and make it distinctive in that way. That could be another way they could do it.
That is a good point. Uh, I would honestly like to see them experiment in the luxury space. Or not like, okay, when I say luxury watches, that's very different from actual luxury watches because then you're talking like $20,000 plus. Those get real fancy real fast. I'm talking about like maybe not into the multi-thousand dollar, but just like closer to $1,000 watch space. I think they could probably make that work. Um, and it's actually interesting because I'm seeing a lot of people that are talking about the pricing of the Apple Watch Ultra, and they're like, you know, they're kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but $800 is still a lot. And I don't know. I just want to take everyone through a really quick thought process here, which is if you are looking at an Apple Watch, like if you look at the Series 8, the Series 8 is weird because um let me order it now. Let's go through and build this here because when you look at the starting price of 399 or 429 for the larger size, it's hard to say like, wow, 429 versus $800. It's twice the price to jump up to the Ultra. But when you look at the way Apple stacks up these watches, it's not actually that crazy. It it it, it seems bigger than it is. So like for example, if you want to get a 45 millimeter with cellular, you add $100 to the price. This one also has a band, right? So if you get a fun Apple band and cellular in just the aluminum case material, you're already at $600. You're already $200 away from uh, getting the Apple Watch Ultra. So, and of course, the Apple Watch Ultra comes with GPS and cellular, and it's also that better, more accurate GPS. So we'll have to test that and see if it's actually, more precise. But if you start adding just even these little things, you really start to see like, okay, maybe it's not that crazy. If you buy, only complete base model Apple Watches, which is the smart way to do it, make no mistake, then yeah, it's a big jump. But if you're the type of person who does want to personalize your Apple Watch a little bit, you want cellular, you want stainless steel. At that point, you're getting pretty close to the Ultra, and you get all of those things, titanium, bigger screen, bigger battery, all that stuff. And I actually do think, it is an unironically good value, full stop.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, because there's a lot of things that you get on the Ultra that you can't get. Obviously the battery life, and I want to talk about the size because it's a bigger display, and some people might like that, some people might not. But there are definitely some things that you can only get on the Ultra. And so if you jump up, you're jumping up, maybe it's $300, $400, maybe it's $200, but you are getting additional features. It's not like it was before where you're just getting a different case material. You are getting different case material, but other stuff as well.
Speaking of other stuff as well, we should probably speak about the iPhone. That's the big event. I think we've covered the Apple Watch Ultra. I think it's super interesting. Let's talk iPhone 14. Starting with the actual iPhone 14, because that's how Apple starts it off. They gave us, I think, arguably one of the most boring iPhones ever made in all of human history in the regular iPhone 14. Do you agree with that, Noah and Chad?
Yeah, I don't think that there's much of a discussion. I think that's just true. You compare it to the 13, very little. What was different? The crash detection,
Yeah.
not the chip, the colors, maybe.
Okay,
what
the
else?
Chip is different technically. So there's two things that were actually changed for the iPhone 14. Number one is the A15 that they're using is the higher binned A15 from the 13 Pro. So it has the 5-core GPU, whereas the iPhone 13 has the 4-core GPU. So the graphics performance, if that's even something that you could measure or notice, is theoretically 20% better. The other thing that they changed is, without really providing much details as to what that entails, they say that there's a new cooling system. Yeah. I don't know what that means. I suspect the removal of the SIM card tray leaves more room for heatsink. That would be my little guess.
Yeah, I was so curious because they removed the SIM tray only in North America, right? So
yes,
I wonder, are they going to have, if they're still making this model for all these other countries, are they going to have a different US model? Is there going to just be an empty space there? Are they going to just fill it in with filler material? Like how's that going to work?
Well, actually, Noah, there pretty much always has been a different model for the US. iPhones and iPads that you buy abroad generally are not the same as the ones. There's usually 3 models. There's usually US, global GSM, and China. Those are all distinct models that have different model numbers. So whenever, when we get those leaks that are like 5 new iPads show up in Eurasian database,
Right.
Typically, those are all the same model of iPad, but there's Wi-Fi only, US cellular, global cellular, China cellular. And so you end up with basically each one has 4 different model numbers for the same actual device, depending on location. So that there will definitely be different models, but the thing that will be interesting this year is typically they don't have too much in the way of a physical difference, but SIM tray removal would theoretically give Apple more internal space to do something with in the US.
Right. I just wonder if they're going to do that, because I know that there are different models because there are different cellular frequencies and different I don't know the right technical terms, but they use different frequencies or different technologies in different parts of the
Mm-hmm.
world. So there are different ones. I just wonder, if they have the extra space in the US model, are they going to be able to take advantage of it? Or are they, because it depends, it's a specific space. It's right where the SIM tray is. That's now empty. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
it's for better cooling. Is that where
Yeah.
the chip is, or is that where the battery is? Because if that's where the battery is, they're not gonna. I don't know if they're gonna reorganize all the components in the phone just to put something else closer to there so that they can do better cooling for it, just for one model and not for the other model. That's sort of what I'm getting at.
So yeah, it is on the so the SIM card interfaces directly with pins on the logic board. So like when you pull out
Okay.
an iPhone logic board, actually I can pull up a picture of one. Let's go on iFixit here. But uh yeah, so the pins on the phone that when you put the SIM card in, it contacts are on the PCB. They're like it's not a separate part.
Mm-hmm.
So it is directly on the board, and if I can find a picture of one, I believe it's also extremely close to um I think it's like pretty much right next to the processor. But I
Okay.
need to find a picture to confirm that. Okay, they don't sell logic boards for the I'm just trying to find a picture of one. Let me see if I can go find like a little teardown of the iPhone 13 Pro Max, for example. That's a good example. Oh wait, no, that's a 14. Oopsie. Hee hee hee. Me when I hit the wrong button. Um let's do a battery removal and then I think I'll be able to show you. Yeah, we can definitely see it from here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I do think, you know, given the location of where all this is, it would make sense for Apple to do it this way. So let me wow, it's really quite tight in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've got stuff at the bottom for the Taptic engine and speakers. Remember they have an L-shaped battery now. I forgot about that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
all at the bottom. Ah, here's a great picture. Oh god, it opened in another tab. Hang on. This is what we want, Noah. Look at that. Okay, so that is the layout on the inside, and over there you can see if you look right in that little crook in the battery, right in that elbow, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
there's that little silver uh, piece of shielding with 3 dots. I
Mm-hmm.
believe those three oh, there goes another one. The final one
Yep.
even.
Yep.
So I believe that those 3 gold dots you're seeing are the contacts for the SIM card, and they are actually pretty much right next to the A15.
Yeah, I think on the old phones, I feel like the logic board used to be on the other side, and then the battery was a straight battery, and I feel like it was on that side. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but that's what I thought. Like
You
old
are
phones.
correct. I'm remembering from iPhone 4s, which we took
Mm-hmm.
apart many. Uh, those I believe you're correct, and I believe the SIM card was also on the other side in those phones as well. It used to be on the power button side.
Yeah, yeah. So that was maybe where I was a little confused. But I will say, it is very close to the processor, or the chip. And if they have extra room there, if they could put some sort of a heat sink, or route some heat there, or I don't know. I'll be very curious to see the teardowns for this thing if they take advantage of that. But it is in the right position for them to take advantage of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I really do want to see the teardowns. I might have to do one myself if it weren't for the fact that I'm not very smart. Also, wait a minute, Noah. I'm just remembering something. The iPhone 4s, we were coming in from the back of the phone. This is coming in from the screen.
Hmm.
So maybe I think the battery actually was on this side the whole time, but we were looking at it from the other direction.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Either way, one thing that's really standing out to me a lot here is actually how small the Logic board is. I mean, this is a 13 Pro Max, pretty big phone, but you can see, from where it's tucked into the battery there, you see that large metal module.
Mm-hmm.
That's all cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They go the entire thickness of the phone. Then, sort of to the lower left of that, there's a black piece with a silver set that kind of looks like a SIM card. That's the earpiece speaker. So that's not Logic board either. The Logic board is only from the right of that, and then it tucks into the battery. It's quite tiny, proportional
Yeah.
to the size of the phone.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty impressive to see all of the little, I mean, the chip is like pretty tiny. There's like the Taptic engine, which they've pulled out in this picture here, but before they did,
Yeah.
it's very tiny. And the L-shaped battery that just, I don't know, the way that they fit everything in there, and it's all so tiny and so compact, and it's pretty cool.
And it's funny because it is quite tiny, even though the phone itself is enormous, as my
Yeah.
face is demonstrating by being eclipsed by it. But all that being said, I guess we spent a lot of time talking about SIM trays, and we got to talk about the dynamic island. Holy crap.
Of
iPhone 14
course.
sucks. It's boring. Nobody cares about that. iPhone 14 Plus, cool. I like it. It's nice if you want that big display and you don't really feel the need to spend that much money. Now, you could argue that rather than buy that, you could just go ahead and get an iPhone 12 Pro Max, which a quick Amazon search pulls up at what the hell? $1,100. Why would you pay more? That's what? Here's one for $999, $939. Damn, okay. I feel like that should be cheaper by now. For a 12 Pro Max, 128,
Yeah.
$939. So I guess if you prefer a renewed or refurbished 12 Pro Max over a new 13 plus, 14 plus, whatever, um, that's an option that you have. Honestly, choosing between those would be a little difficult for me. I'm not going to lie, because the 12 Pro Max has more cameras, but they both have the same exact display, no ProMotion or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the notch is a little different looking, but apart from that, I don't know. It's honestly kind of a crapshoot between them. I don't know which I would pick. Um, all things being equal, as they pretty much are, it's kind of just an aesthetic choice at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just slightly smaller notch and I guess different color options. And I guess, new device versus, 2-year-old device, but you know.
Now, we do have to, I actually do want to talk about battery because Apple did something weird. And I want to show all of you guys because it's very weird. But to tee it up, I've got a great comment to read for you, Noah. Luke, duis the Ofuni 14 heavy e good battery lofi.
Oh,
I don't
I
know. Yeah,
I don't know I don't know what dialect of English that is, but I
yeah,
think I understood it.
yeah. I for some reason I read this as being like kind of Swedish, Luke, duis the iPhone 14 heavy a good battery lofi. I'm pretty
I
sure that's
that
Swedish.
I think you're right. I think that's Swedish, some Swedish English hybrid.
Oh yeah, definitely a hybrid. Uh, but I guess. Oh wait, I feel bad here. Hang on, we've had a couple of super chats that I need to just address here. This is like a
Yes.
sponsorship break. All right. So first of all, we've got Kayvon. Thank you for the super chats. He found another $2. This is the guy at the beginning of the show. that had already blown all his money on a 14 Pro Max, Apple Watch Ultra, and AirPods. Found another $2. Appreciate the support. Would Johnny Ive even approve of the Apple Watch Ultra? I think absolutely not, and that is why Apple is better off without Johnny Ive. I'm not going to lie.
Bold statement.
Yeah. Here we have another one from V, which may or may not be for Vendetta. It's impossible to know. Mm-hmm. They want the Apple Watch Ultra. They will use it in conditions where the 8 would not be suitable. The first Apple Watch, because on the band, I don't know what that means exactly. So he wants a watch to push it to the extreme and says that people will buy it and never use it, like the ad. I'm guilty of that. I will almost certainly not be getting lost in the woods or, diving the Mariana Trench with this.
Yeah.
Another one from V said they spent £1,000. Oh, sorry. I spent £1,000 on first watch because of the back metal strap. Blimey. I do like a back metal strap, don't you?
It's quite nice.
Do you fancy it?
I do. I reckon.
Oh, yeah.
You reckon?
Bloody hell. I reckon very much. Anyway, yes, what were we talking about? Battery. Okay, I want to show you something, Noah.
Yes.
And it's weird. It's very weird. I don't have an actual explanation for this, but I'm going to pull up here the Apple website. This is, if you don't know, it's apple.com. Okay. This is where Apple, they sort of promote their wares here. Now, iPhone 14 page, as you can tell from the everything about this, we scroll down, we see big and bigger. Okay, they're touting, of course, the new color, which looks to me like it's Sierra Blue, just recycled. Big and bigger. We've got the screen sizes, and the first thing that we see once we scroll past, we've met them. We're like, hello, these are the iPhone 14s. They say our longest battery life ever. Right? Weird, right? Mm-hmm. They noted that at the very top here. And if you remember, Noah, they did also say that in the event. Do you remember seeing that where they said the iPhone 14 Plus has our best battery life of any iPhone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, if I go ahead and scroll down here, I'm on the compare page now. If we go down and find battery, which I think I may have passed. Oh, nope, there it is. Power and battery. Video playback. The iPhone 14 Plus is rated for up to 26 hours. The iPhone 14 Pro Max, 29. Video playback streamed. The iPhone 14 Plus up to 20 hours. The Pro Max up to 25. In fact, the only area where Apple is claiming that audio that the battery on the 14 Plus is better is audio playback. 100 hours on 14 Plus, 95 on Pro Max. Is that not a little bit strange that they used battery life as a talking point for the 14 Plus? And they were like, this is the best battery life ever. They did not talk about that at all with the Pro Max, which has better battery life. What's going on here?
That is weird. And I wonder, can you switch the 14 Pro to maybe like a 13? I would have to imagine that they're comparing the 14 and 14 Plus to like the 13 and saying that that's where the battery life is better. And also because they needed another thing to talk about.
The thing is, though, they said our best battery life in an iPhone. They weren't saying like better battery life than the other one. They said this device has the best battery life of any iPhone. And that's not true. Like even the 13 Pro Max, right? The 13 Pro Max for somehow is rated for 1 less hour of video playback, but otherwise is the same as the 14 Pro Max. So why are they making this claim? Because from everything that Apple is saying, these are their claims, it does not appear to be true unless they're literally just quoting the audio playback and that's how they're getting to this claim.
Yeah, that is interesting. Not something that I thought about. I don't know if it's, they didn't have enough stuff to talk about with the regular ones, and so they're talking about that the battery life is better. The way that they worded
Yeah.
it's definitely weird. I honestly don't know.
It's definitely one of the most strange things that I have seen in quite a while. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but you know, I, I'm trying to think of why they would do that. I think honestly they just wanted to really highlight that if you want good battery life and you don't want to spend $1,000, yes, the 14 plus is probably the way to go. In fact, maybe that would actually sway me. Earlier, we were talking about whether you would take a 14 plus or a 12 Pro Max. And I think that would probably put me over the edge there. That is a significant improvement in battery life. So I'd probably take the 14 plus for that reason.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You know what else is a fair point?
What?
The dynamic island rocks. It's awesome.
Yes, it is based on first impressions. It does seem very cool. I will agree with you.
I'm honestly like kind of blown away that they took the notch, which has been made fun of the worldwide for 5 years now. It's been an eyesore. Remember when everyone made fun of them when the iPhone XS came out and they used that wallpaper that was conveniently completely black in the top part of the screen so that in the press images you couldn't see that it had a notch?
Mm-hmm.
Even look back at all of the iPhone Pro wallpapers. They're all very dark and very sneaky. They like to hide the notch. And what Apple just did was they said, you know what, folks? We don't need the notch. We're not going to hide our technological compromise that we need to make to put this stuff up there. We're going to put it right in the middle, slap a digitizer on top of it, and we're just going to make it a part of the phone. And I think, honestly, that is a fantastic way to deal with that problem. It's not doing the impossible. It's taking what's possible and doing the best that you can with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think it's, I just saw a comment here. The dynamic island just proves Apple DNA is thriving. I agree. This is one of those things that's an Apple thing. It's, the hardware and the software working together in a way
Absolutely.
that other companies can't do. And like you said, taking, something that was kind of annoying or, it wasn't really functional. It was just kind of there as necessity. And taking that and actually making it into something that's like part of the phone itself. Now, I'm very curious to see. I'm excited to play around with it and see how genuinely useful it'll be versus just being kind of cool. But I will say, at the very least, there's a lot of different like alerts and things, and they kind of showed this in the thing. Like, there's the thing that pops up when your AirPods connect, and it looks different from some of the other alerts that show up. And so unifying all of that in one place is definitely a nice touch. And just the animations and the way that it works. And I keep watching. There's the one where it has like a bell ringing, and the bell's ringing, and it like slightly vibrates the dynamic island. And it's just like such a beautiful, like the animation are just so beautiful and responsive and like alive. I don't know. It's just really cool. I love watching. I just keep watching that. It's so cool.
And some people have said, in renders it looks like that, but in person you can kind of see the pills for the Face ID and for the camera. Honestly, it does not seem very noticeable to me. I honestly was perfectly fine with when we just thought that they were going to black out those pixels in the middle to make it one pill and use that for audio and video dots. Remember when we thought that that's what it meant? We were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. They're going to have 2 status indicator lights in there. And we were like, that's clever.
Yeah.
And then they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, guess what, huh? We're going to completely reinvent the way that you interact with your phone. Mic drop. That was a mic drop moment. That was just like, holy cow. That's amazing. That is such a good idea. And people are like, oh, it's super simple. All they're doing is like putting widgets up there. Yeah. Nobody has thought to do that. Nobody has thought like, hey, why are we trying to hide these things when we could just like kind of make that part of the functionality of the phone? That's what makes this so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you can say, how much is it a gimmick? How much is it genuinely useful? And that will remain to be seen. But
Yeah.
it is cool, regardless of what it is. It's a novel idea that other companies haven't done. And it's really integrated with the hardware and software in a very cool way. So even if it turns out to be more of a gimmick than anything, which it may or may not, we'll see. It's still very cool, a very cool thing, and I love that they led with it because I think they led with that with the 14 Pro announcement, and that was just like a big, because that's definitely the coolest, and there were other cool things in the 14 Pro line, but that was definitely the coolest thing, and the way that they led with that, and we really weren't expecting it. It's a software thing that doesn't usually leak as much, so we really weren't expecting that, and that was just a great way to introduce the new Pro models.
Yeah, I think honestly the dynamic island is what the touch bar wanted to be.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's that little blend of hardware and software that the touch bar never got that right. It tried to do too much while also not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was a worse way to do the things that you wanted to do on it normally without really giving you that much else. Like, remember in Final Cut Pro, you would see where you are in your timeline and you could scrub around? Redundant, unnecessary, not useful. You look at the dynamic island, different story. Because, like, the one example that I think of is push notifications. So when you're using your phone, you get a banner notification. I'm pretty sure, I don't know that I have seen this firsthand, but it seems like they're pretty much going all in on that. So like if you get a notification, it'll pop out of that dynamic island, which tucks it way higher up in the screen, more out of the way than it would have been before. It's like those little things give it such like visual utility. Like they even showed the little Face ID icon for when you're doing Apple Pay as being like the dynamic island expands into a square and then it retracts. Like just that little thing, it tucks all of this stuff further up into the display, more out of your way, which it wouldn't have been able to do before. Like imagine you get a notification on Twitter, a text from your friend, or information about upcoming directions on the regular phone now. Like look at where on the phone that happens. It's all here. It comes in below the status bar. But with the dynamic island, you tuck it up a little higher up, make it a little thinner. It moves things up there out of the way, and it makes the status bar actually have a function apart from just being like that little static bar where it just like hides little bits of information. Now that's actually useful space.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like the way that you phrased the touch bar thing. And when you look at the dynamic island, it doesn't detract from anything you were doing before because the notch didn't do anything before. It was just kind of there, but it does actually do more. It moves, like you said, moves all that stuff up there, lets you, moves it a little bit higher out of the way. You can still interact with it up there. And it has, it's dynamic. It'll respond. We saw the examples. You are listening to music and it puts a little button up there and you tap on that and you can access your music player. You could do that from Control Center as well, but it's a little bit quicker of an access and it's more timely. instead of, you know, the control center always has the music player whether or not you're listening to any kind of audio. This puts it up there when you are, and when you're not, then something else is up there. So it's more timely, it's more reactive, it's more useful.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, the thing is, we're only talking about that one feature, which I think has really captivated people. But when you look at what the iPhone 14 Pro offers overall, like, this I think is honestly one of the best years for the iPhone. Like, we were all bored going into this when it first came out that John's leaked design wasn't going to make it to the actual production this year. And we were all like, oh man, this year's going to suck. It doesn't look any different. What are they even going to do? They're just going to make it a pill instead of a notch? That's boring. And then they gave us the dynamic island, which we've talked about, is really cool and innovative. They gave us 4 new cameras, front and back. All the cameras are new. That 48 megapixel sensor, which has like super sampling essentially. So when you take a picture with it in normal mode, you're not using, it's not going to be a 48 megapixel photo because that's like 60 megabytes per picture. But what it does is you have 4 times the pixel data, so it can filter and pick the best stuff, and it should make the cameras look way better. The pictures are going to be massively better. So that's already big. The better low light, the what was it, action mode, basically having that optical and digital stabilization, the always on display. Like, the list is pretty long. Satellite connectivity, if you need that. Like, there is a lot there. I think this is actually a really, really substantial upgrade to the iPhone in a year where they don't change the design. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think, you know, maybe next year we'll see. I think there's that deadline for USB-C or removing the
Yes,
port. So maybe we'll see something
that'll
related
be
to that.
big.
Or I guess we probably will see something related to that. Potential new design, since we've had this design since the iPhone 12. You know, we'll see what happens. Obviously, rumors will come out later. But for now, yes, this is definitely an interesting update. There are a couple of very nice things here. I keep forgetting about the always on display. Like, literally, I completely forgot about
Yeah,
it until you just said it. You know, we'll see how useful it is, but it's another feature that's there. Always on display, the better camera, the dynamic island, you know, all the smaller stuff that they did. It's definitely a solid update this year. It's not boring, I will say.
I'm really interested to see. I think, honestly, I think the always on display is something that is going to, it'll eventually make it to more devices, and I could see there being additional software level functionality coming to that. And like we talked
Yeah.
about the stealth map mode,
Mm-hmm.
like black and white, low brightness, a lot of like black areas, but it could have like the driving directions on a low power mode. That would be I think that'd be a great idea. Like, there's a lot that you can do with that always on display. Right now, I don't really see it as that compelling of a feature, just because, as you mentioned, you forgot about it. I honestly don't really think about it all that much. I don't think I'm going to use it that often. I might even turn it off if it turns out it helps battery life. But it's a good idea, and it's good hardware to have around when software can use it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Very, very excited to get the new iPhone and these other new devices in our hands soon, and play around with them and see how they are.
Yeah, it's by the time we're back here next week, 7 days, folks. Set your stopwatches and calendars and put those boulders up above your fridge, because we're gonna be back with the phones. We'll have a couple days experience using them. I'm excited. I'm very excited. There's obviously going to be a lot of coverage on my channel. This year I think is a big enough year that I'm gonna be putting out some videos on it. I don't typically do that much iPhone stuff, so I'm not gonna inundate you. I'm not gonna do like tons of benchmarks, but I think honestly, pretty good year. It's a great year to be buying a new iPhone.
It is a great year for a new iPhone, and it's a great time right now for us to end this episode.
My goodness. I was wondering, you had that look in your eyes of like, I'm going to transition this to ending the podcast, and you did it well.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was very well done. As was this episode of Dark Mode by us, including me, your host, Luke Miani.
And me, your host, Noah Rubin. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.